Alright, people of the internet, so here we are with another overview of the Coulee series packs. I managed to get a hold of one of the Coulee 40s a bit sooner than I had hoped to, so awesome. So we're going to go over that here today. We're going to see if there's any real differences, changes, or improvements from what I can remember from the original Coulee 40 I had, and talk about some of the features of the new Coulee 40 here, and how that stacks up to a pack that you would use either for just regular hiking trips, or if you want to flex this into a more combat recce type role. Alright, so let's not waste any time. This time we're going to do things a little bit differently here, and we're going to jump straight into talking about how this works with your gear, and we'll talk about the features afterwards as we unpack it. So without further ado, let's get on to the gear reviews. Let's get on!
Hold me closer, Ed. It's getting dark.
Okay, and here you have the Coulee pack in its final amazing form, fully recce'd out. So this is the exact same Bees Combat medium-sized ghillie pack cover, and as you can see, it fits over this super long-ass 40-liter pack almost exactly. I really can't think of anything bad to say about this. It's working exactly like it should. So if you're looking for, one of these ghillie pack covers, the size medium is definitely the one to invest in, because you're going to get a nice wide range of packs that it can fit across, and then you don't have to worry about, buying one for this size, buying one for that size. So anything bigger than a pack like this, yeah, you're going to need the next size up. But like I've shown in previous videos, all the way down to like a 25-liter pack, it'll still work. So that's pretty great. Let's go ahead and yank this off. It does, so it is fitting, like, there's a little bit of discrepancy, like if you can see on the side here. So it's not fitting, quite all the way around. Basically, the water bottle on the side here is kind of holding it in place, although it is wrapping around the bottom here just fine. It's tucking into the corner, so it's holding itself in place and it's working fine, but it is like an exact fit for this pack. So again, the sizing is still a little off on the site, but the medium is definitely the best bang for your buck if you're looking for assault pack / light overnight sized packs. Definitely get the medium. Alright, let's pull this off. Underneath it, this is also the exact same size medium Tasmanian Tiger rain cover. And as you can see, it also fits this pack perfectly. A little bit of gap on the sides, but the top and the bottom is excellent. I mean, it is being kind of, stretched a long ways because it's such a tall pack. So if it was a little bit shorter pack and wider, it would fit around completely around the edges. But I mean, let's be real. Like I said before, I'm putting on here more for a little bit of rain protection and also having an undercolor for this ghillie, which, obviously if this pack wasn't tan, then you would actually need it. You don't need it with a tan pack, but since I have a tan pack, go on the bottom, fits fine around the bottom here. It's tucking in under the corners real nice like it should. And then around the top here, it's coming all the way around the top completely, again, like it should. So it fits excellently, and this pack has both, the water bottles in the side pockets, as well as items in the back sleeves. It's even still got a little bit of room to spare along the sides, so it's not even like completely stretched out. It's just that the length of the pack is so long that it kind of overstretches it lengthwise. Other than that, it's great. So once again, the size medium for this is definitely the size to invest in if you're looking into getting this stuff. Which, I mean, this is a whole, what did I pay $16 for this? It's an investment of $16, but if you're not sure which size you want, if you're going to be using packs between the 25 to 40 liter size, the medium for both this rain cover and the Bees Gilly are definitely the ones to get. We're going to get into the actual loadout for this pack, which I'm going to give a couple different synopsises over this because this pack is a little bit more versatile than the previous packs we've talked about in the Coulee line because it is, well, now it's actually big enough to do things with. So, here we go. Here is the final product, all loaded up with a bunch of random shit. That's okay though, because this is holding a lot of the same stuff you've seen in previous Coulee pack reviews here, so it'll serve as a good comparison anyway. Alright, on to the outside. If you heard my bitching and moaning about this in the Coulee 20 review, these back pockets are kind of great and kind of suck. As I've mentioned before, I do like the fact that they can lay flat now when you're not using them. As I've also mentioned, they've got this this area at the bottom is now, very flat, and unfortunately, this isn't exactly conducive to fitting, bigger items in here that are not flat. So it still does have some of the same problems that the previous pack does. However, this 40-liter pack is now considerably bigger than the previous 20 and 30, and so now these pockets are considerably longer than they were on the 20 and 30. I mean, I shouldn't say considerably, but they are longer. So it is kind of helping, even though it is still getting squished on the bottom. It is helping to provide more purchase on the item in the pocket, and along with the side pocket here being a little bit different, taller and taller side pocket as well as a taller pack. These are more spaced out, etc., etc. So this is also kind of fixing some problems. I'll get into that in a second. So this is now actually with the longer area of purchase and the top strap now being located higher up and not having to run it over the side of the water bottle to keep the water bottle in the pocket. It is now providing that upper level of tension at the top of the item that I was talking about in the previous Coulee 20 review. And so this is holding your items in there much better now. It's still annoying that it doesn't fully billow at the bottom, which I kind of feel it still should. I feel like they're throwing away space here when it could have easily been kept by simply using the design of the previous Coulee 25 or previous Coulee 40. But it is much better than it was before, even though you're still going to be a little bit limited in the size of the items they can fit in here because of this flat spot. So, unfortunately, the irony being, all this extra billowing area, this stretch stuff, is kind of useless now because you can only make it this big. This is literally, this area down here is as big as it can get. So, why do I need this then? Unfortunate. That is probably going to be the biggest, maybe it's the second biggest issue with this 40-liter pack specifically, is they really needed to keep the original pockets. Well, I guess I should say that's the biggest issue with these Coulee, the new generation in general, is they should have kept the original pockets and just, put the straps to, attach the side of the pockets like they do now, but with the old design of the main pocket itself would have been, But they didn't. So it is what it is, but at least on this, they're a little bit taller, this strap's higher, and it's not having to go over the water bottle, so now it actually is putting pressure on here up high where it needs to be, and it is much better for putting small items like, rain gear and maybe like tent stakes or something like that in these pockets. It'd still be okay for that. As far as the side pockets here go, for the water, they are still insufferably thin. I've actually, there, now I've got it in the rest of the way. This was sitting overnight, so I kind of pushed the bottle up a little bit so it wasn't straining the pocket, but now that it's in there again. So something you'll notice with this pack versus what I was complaining about with the 20 and the 30, they've kind of gone back a little bit more towards a closer to the original design. There isn't such a severe angle to the bottom of this pack. If you see now, it comes more around in a standard flat curved area instead of a big slant to the top. So, yay! This is helping once again. As you'll see here, with this bottle stuffed in here, it's now sitting straight across the bottom, which comes down, straight here. It's not at a big angle, so you're not having the corner of the bottle sitting at the top of that angle and just not being able to push down into the bottom of the pocket. You can now push it down into the bottom of the pocket without running into an angle that stops you from doing that. The downside is, as before, in typical fashion, they still haven't made the pocket big enough. It still doesn't billow out the amount that it needs to billow out to fit this bottle in here efficiently. And again, this pocket is massive. It's easily the same size pocket that was on the Coulee 30, and as I showed in that one, if the pack isn't full, you can actually fit 2 of these smart water bottles. Fuck, I can't talk for shit.
And you know what DC stands for? Posigraph medicinal.
It's big enough from a width perspective. You can fit 2 of these smart water bottles side by side in the pocket when the pack isn't full. But when the pack is full, you can barely fit 1 in here. I mean, it's nice because you can get it straight in there now without running against that curve that stops it. But it's so tight, it's not going to translate well on camera. But this is pulled pretty much completely tight here, and even more so you can see. Maybe you can see at the bottom like how tight that's being pulled here. You can feel the tension on that. Like it's as tight as it can go. And all I've gotten here is a 1 liter smart water bottle, just because the pack is full. These pockets, and I'll show this when I do the interior loadout, because I'm going to give you a couple different variations of it so you can get a better idea of what I'm talking about and what you'll be able to fit in this thing. But these side pockets are easily big enough to fit these 1.5 liter Nalgene bottles when the pack isn't full. But when the pack is full, you can barely fit a 1 liter smart water bottle in there because these pockets do not billow out enough like they should. So that's still a critical design fail there, and I, for the life of me, do not understand why they didn't they didn't understand what this was going to do when the pack was full. Just making the pocket wider doesn't make it bigger. So yeah, that's still pretty lame, but on the plus side, again, versus what you saw like on the 20 and even the 30 to a point, these pockets are now nice. This pack itself is taller, which means the pockets itself are way taller. And so even though these pockets are still cut at a ridiculous slant here for the size pocket that it is, at least now it's overall tall enough where it can fit the bottle in there without it wanting to just fall out the top of the pocket. This ridiculous cant that there is to the cut now doesn't really play as big of a role as it did before, and you now have the second strap at the bottom here coming across the middle of the pocket, which means it's now securing the bottle in here much better than it was before, which, is stopping it from doing this. Now, I know I'm probably going to get a bunch of people that are going to say, oh, well, it's for, it's so it can cant forward so you can pull it out from behind you when you are walking. But see my previous counter to that before, in that, just get a freaking source convert tube, stick it on your bottle, and drink it out of your bottle like it's a bladder, and then you never have to worry about that again. Like, I don't know. I don't know why people think that's like a good thing. I know I've seen people talk about this over and over in my delving into like the ultralight community, and they were talking about being able to access their pocket, their bottle from behind them. I don't understand it. It's I've played with packs for quite a while. I've tried that before. It's not comfortable, and even more so of an issue comes in when you're talking about flexing this pack into a combat role, like this entire series has kind of been focused towards. Depending on what other types of gear you're wearing, you may have enough on the front of your body where you simply can't reach around behind you to get to these bottles. Obviously, that's not a knock on people who can do that, but if you're trying to flex this into, a combat role, that's going to be an issue right away. And I've played with packs for years and tried this before with other packs I've had, and I really hate it. I guess some people like it, but I can't stand trying to blindly reach around behind me to reach a bottle and then trying to blindly reach around behind me to stick it back in a pocket. And it's even more detrimental with a pack like this because, like I said before, this pocket is so tight when this pack is full that you can't just slide the bottle back in there because these pockets will billow out enough for it to have enough spare space for you to just slide a bottle in and out of it. These pockets are so tight, especially once the pack is full, which it's going to be full, that trying to reach behind you blindly and shove this in here isn't going to work. So I don't really know what they were going for with these pockets. I kind of feel like this is one place where like the kind of slick design language they're going for with this pack should have taken a backseat to practicality. Because, every single pack on the market pretty much needs to be able to fit like the top 2, preferably top 3 bottles on the market, and that is the Smart Water bottle, the Nalgene bottle, and the USGI canteen. And if it can't fit a USGI canteen, that's okay. You still have the Smart Water bottles and the Nalgenes to fall back on, but like those are like the top 3 bottles that everybody uses. So I'll say these pockets are now like 50-50. It's half in the bag, half still kind of sucks. Along with all that, you'll notice too that on the bottom corner here, the little drainage slots are back on the main side pockets. The back pockets still don't have them, which is alright. But they are back on the side pockets, which is nice. And once again, in my opinion, is kind of proof that they do very much intend these side pockets to be used specifically for hydration. Which makes it even more confusing to me why they would overlook such an obvious flaw in the way these pockets are designed. Anyways, enough talk about the side pockets. As far as these waist pockets go, these are also a massive improvement over the 20 and 30s because now they're actually a somewhat decent size. They are, however, much like everything about these Coulee packs, a little bit deceptively different than how you think. So the cool thing about these pockets is you can actually fit some stuff in them now. They do kind of, now billow out big enough where you can, they're actually usable for something other than like, some snack bars or, pistol mags or something like that. But like everything else with these packs, it's a little bit of a trade-off. So you can fit some stuff in them now. You can fit a cell phone in here now too. If it's something approximately about the size of a Galaxy A01 or slightly larger than that, I'd say within about a ½ inch to 1 inch wider and longer will still fit in this pocket. But if it's a big phone, it's still not going to fit. But it is better than what it was, I guess. But the key with these is, so the waist belt on the 40 is also a little bit different than the previous belts. It's considerably better, as I've talked about previously in the features overview. It's got a little bit of an inherent curve to it, which is great. And then when you put it on, it also curves a little bit, around your waist. So on the one hand, these pockets are considerably bigger than the 20 and 30 liter pockets, or at least they look that way. But once you've actually got it on and it's curving a little bit, you'll see that the pockets kind of go back to this area here, and then you have this area here, and then this part up front here. It's got a little bit of like an overall ergonomic.
Man, you are one pathetic loser.
It's got a little bit of an ergonomic curve to it to kind of match with the way that the belt itself curves. And you can get your hand into these areas. It very much is accessible, but it's kind of accessible when you're not wearing the pack. once you got it on, and there's a hard curve to this, that kind of does bend to the pocket. And what that leads into is basically these areas back here kind of flattening out a little bit. So even though they exist to kind of help to billow this pocket out, the area of this pocket you really should be counting on using is the actual square bit here. And right in here. That's about what you should be planning on using. It's better than it was, and you can fit considerably more in them than you could before. Let's see. This is a 3.5 by 5.5 inch notebook, and it's about the width of the zipper, so you can fit it in there exactly. But anything bigger than this, like a cell phone, you're going to have to kind of put in there, angle back, and drop it in, and then do the same thing to pull it out. You have to be careful with that, especially if you're going to put like a cell phone in here that's a little bit longer, because then anything else you put in here along with it is going to impinge on your ability to angle that phone to get it in and out of its pocket. So if you've got your like navigational app on that phone and you're going to be referencing it constantly throughout the day, you're going to have to think about what you're going to put in this pocket, and that that phone may very well much be about all you're going to want to put in there, except for like, if it's something like this where it's like, a notebook or something else you can fold up flat in here, maybe a map, etc. Because if you've got a bunch of small stuff in here, obviously trying to get your cell phone in and out on top of that is it's not going to be fun. As far as what you can fit in here, let me go to the other side real quick. On this side, we've got all sorts of stuff in here. So the maximum amount it can fit as far as taking up the entire space of the pocket, we have a Phoenix PD35 flashlight and a pair of cat tourniquets. These cat tourniquets will actually fit in here perfectly. And if you're wondering, if your cell phone will fit, if it's about the same length as a cat tourniquet, fold it up, it'll fit. So I guess that's probably about 7 inches. Yeah, about 7 inches exact. So something 7 inches long and a bit wider than that will fit in this pocket. As for what else you can fit in here, you can fit pistol mags in here as usual. What you're going to do is you can either stack them up like we did before at the front of the pouch, and you can fit 3 pistol mags high at the front of the pouch and still have enough space at the back to fit a multi-tool and a lighter, and still have enough space left over for something about this much. At that point, the pack is somewhat full. It's still got a little bit of billow left in it, but the actual dimensions of the pocket are used up. A more efficient use of it would be something about the size of an entire ammunition box. And as you can see, that fits in there with room to spare. You could fit an ammunition box in there. You can fit a multi-tool behind it still. A lighter behind it still. An extra pistol mag on top. And still have room left over for, let's say, a second multi-tool. If you had something that was the size of, say, this is a Leatherman Wave, so you could fit 2 of these in here behind something the size of a 50-round pistol ammunition box. Granted, this is a slightly smaller than average pistol ammunition box, but you get the general idea. So, if you're intending to use it like a snack pocket, you can definitely fit a pretty good amount of, nut bars or Cliff Bars or jelly beans, whatever the hell you want to put. You just put like a whole sack of jelly beans in here and M&Ms, whatever you want to put in here. You can fit quite a lot of it in here now. Or if you want to use it as like an organizational pocket, like I showed for the Coulee 25 review, where you want to put, some paracord and a bunch of other random stuff in there. Put your fire starting equipment in here, so forth and so on. This is now actually a usable pocket for stuff like that, which is great. And like I said before in the other reviews, I don't know why they didn't just stick with this size pocket, because it will fit on the other belts. It's just, I mean, I don't know. I don't get it. It is that much better than the other ones, even though once you have it on you, like I said, the way that this curves does kind of eliminate some of this space back here. Other than that, so much better. While we're at it, let's talk about the back side of this bag. So, the new feature for the current gen Coulee 40s is this new sleeping bag compartment with the straps. What should I say about this? So, as with everything else here, you know what I'm going to say. It's half in the bag. The first and most noticeable thing, these straps only go to about the halfway mark on the bottom of the bag. They do not go around the entire bottom. I'm not sure why, because it is neither providing you in its current configuration with something that's going to compress the bottom of the pack very much. Maybe it would just compress like the first part of it, but it's not going to actually compress the whole thing if you had something smaller in the bottom here. It's also not giving you, the entire bottom of the pack to strap like, a sleeping pad or blanket roll or something else to the bottom of this pack. You can't really do that because these straps don't go all the way around to the bottom of the pack. They only go halfway. I don't know why they did that. I'm sure there must be some design reason for it. Maybe some durability reason. I have no idea. There's clearly enough space at the bottom here where the pad sews in, where if you mark where these comes down, it more or less lines up. But, I mean, there is also some wrinklage going on here where it tucks into where the slots for the belt go, if you can see that. So, maybe there were just quality issues or durability issues with making it go all the way around the bottom of the pack like that, but it's still a little bit lame that it doesn't. So that was, if you were expecting to get this pack and have these at the bottom to, use it to expand your pack so that you could carry a sleeping bag or a sleeping mat exterior to the pack, it's not really great at it. So, aside from that, now you can still, use it to attach stuff to the back of the pack, like, let's say this, hatchet. There. So, it is still usable for something like that, but you're really not going to be able to put a sleeping mat here because it's going to have to unless it's a very narrow mat that can fit within this much space, which I'm sure it isn't, it's going to be at kind of like you're either going to have to strap it to the back of the pack and have these straps kind of go around it, or it's going to be kind of at a weird like off angle here because you're going to have to strap it here. Again, another one of those design features that I looked at and said, "Ooh, this will be a great upgrade," and then once you get it, it's not amazing. But I guess you can strap something to it now. As far as the actual sleeping bag pocket itself goes, I mean, we have the obvious issue that you can really pretty much tell right away without me having to do anything, and that is the zipper here is shorter than the actual area of the bag that holds the sleeping bag itself. So if you have a normal size sleeping bag, like the Corinthia that I talked about before, there is absolutely no way in hell you're getting that out of the zippered area. I mean, it's completely down into the sides of it here. And it's also being smashed on, with all the stuff on top of it. I'll go over that later where it has, there's like a little a little flap that goes around the top that I guess is supposed to act like a divider, but it's not actually long enough to fit over the sleeping bag when it's in there, which, you've got this also little strap at the bottom here, which I guess is supposed to compress something or maybe hold the bottom of this pack up a little bit. But again, the entire bottom of this pack is being taken up by a relatively average size sleeping bag. Like like I said in the, what was it, 20 or 30 review, this sleeping bag here, this Corinthia, is about the same pack size as a budget bag like the Kelty Cosmic Down. Their 40-degree bag packs up about the same exact size as this. From what I understand, that's a pretty popular budget sleeping bag. So if you have one of those, it will fit in here, but you will not get it out of the zipper pocket. You're going to have to pop the pack open and get it out of the bottom like that. I appreciate the theory, the theoretical thought that went into this pocket, but it's just not useful. And like I was saying about the 30, it feels like they very much are leaning hard into something that would be a super ultra light item that packs up really tiny and nothing else.
I don't know what went wrong.
Oh, that's okay. Mistakes happen.
So, in my opinion, this is something that is a neat idea, but again, not an upgrade from the original Coulee 40 that I had before, which is a shame because I really wish it was. Onto the top pockets. So, on the Coulee 40, there are now 2 top pockets. There's the main lid and a small little pocket on top of the main lid. Again, it's another thing I kind of like the theory of, but kind of feel like the little top pocket is in the in the way that most of these little mini pockets aren't that useful. It isn't that useful. It is big enough. Once even with the top pocket, the pack is completely full. The top pocket is completely full. Even with the top pocket completely full, it is big enough to fit a pair of mechanics gloves in. As you can see, still, it's still long enough to fit something about the size of a PD-35 in. So it's not completely useless. I guess you could use it for something that you might need immediate access to when you've stopped, or if you want somebody else to get at or something. But you can put, I guess you can put your keys in there if you want to. But again, I can put my keys in the main pack. Like it's, not something that I feel is like a needed item, but it is nice to have. So, another kind of half in the bag item there that will just go with because it's on there, but like it wouldn't be missed if it wasn't on there. I'd rather have had them take the time and effort it took to, figure out how to get that sewn to the top pocket, and I'd rather have them put that into fixing the side pockets, but, whatever. As far as the main top pocket, so the design of this pack it's kind of a tall and narrow pack. And it's very similar in size to the 30-liter pack, but the way it it's hard to explain without you seeing it, but the way it folds across the front, especially when the pack is full, is a lot more similar to the 20-liter pack, where this front part gets a little bit flatter at the front when this pack is filled up. So, because of that, with the pack filled, we are back down to this pocket fitting 1, 2, 4 standard size magazines and a rain cover. Now, if you take the rain cover out, even with the pack stuff full, you could then trade that rain cover for something small at the front here, like this flashlight, and now it fits in there just fine. It is not going to be enough space for a pair of even small pistol mags. You would have to put one in there, or a slightly extended one, maybe a 20 round mag probably would fit, and that fits in there just fine. This pack, the way the design works on this is like I said, similar to the 30, but it's a little bit more tall and narrow, and especially when it comes to the top, it seems to kind of narrow a little bit when it comes to the top, more so than the 30 liter did, and the way that this lid fits across the front of the pack when it's full, as you can see, acts a little bit more like the 20 liter, where it kind of flattens out along the front of it, whereas the 30 liter kind of still maintained a little bit more volume here. So that will change a little bit what you can fit in this lid. I was honestly a little bit disappointed in that because of the cavernous lid that was on the 30 liter, which was amazing, and so I was expecting this being a 40 liter pack it to be, you know, around the same size, maybe even bigger. It's kind of not. In fact, you can even, I don't know if you can see this on camera, but you can kind of see here the way it kind of tapers in a little bit on the sides here when it's full. So still useful. Still can, you know, fit a basic combat reload of ammunition in the lid if you want to, or whatever 4 magazines where the space would fit for you if you want to put something other than ammunition there. But it is a little disappointing to not have the same volume as the 30 liter pack had, or maybe even a little bit more volume. I do not believe it has anything to do with this top pocket. This is, if you look at it with the lid completely empty, the top pocket only comes to here. So it's a very, you know, kind of narrow and thin pocket. So it's not like it's, you know, it's not like it's going into the front here and taking up space. It's not. So I don't believe that's, you know, playing any role in that. It's just the way that the pack is designed, the way it all fits together when it's closed. Other than that, it's okay. I would rather, if it was me doing the pack and designing it, I'd probably rather err on the side of catering to the people who want to stuff everything in this pack they possibly can, than erring on the side of it looking slick and being, you know, all low profile and have everything perfectly, you know, melding into itself, and, you know, like, it looks nice, but I'd rather have the extra space. And I think most people that get this pack are probably going to feel the same way. But anyways, it's still not bad. It's just, you're getting a little bit more of like the 25 liter lid on a 40 liter pack. So anyways, this is the same Frog Togs rain suit from before. Again, notice that these are being compressed pretty much flat, sticking into the bottom of its pockets. Like I was saying before, they don't fit full-sized round items, if that's what you want to put in there, which is lame. Smart water bottles. These are just regular old smart water bottles that got painted because I'm an idiot. Alright, now onto the inside, under the lid. You can see how full this is in here because these are literally smashed flat. So I've stuffed this to the point where it's completely stuffed, yet not quite to the point of ridiculousness. So actually, I'll show this real quick. Like, it's stuffed, but, like, you know, you can see some areas here and there where it still compresses in. So it's not like and that's kind of the other thing I'm going into with, like, me endlessly bitching about these side pockets. This pack isn't really even stuffed to the point of being, like, 100% stuffed. It's, like, 98% stuffed. It's not, you know, overloaded like the 20 liter was, because I want to specifically show, you know, with that pack, you know, what can happen if you try to overload a small pack like that and try to put it into a roll that's above and beyond what it can really handle. So this pack isn't even to that point yet, and these side pockets are already having issues fitting, you know, a slim bottle like a smart water bottle. But yes, so if you're wondering how stuffed this pack is, though, it's why these gloves are pretty much flattened. So we have the previous lightweight winter gloves from Mechanics. We have our half-A IFAK that is simulating a, you know, a medical kit like most people would carry with them for a hiking trip. Or alternatively, you know, if you're going to flex this into a combat roll, you know, a refill for an IFAK, or extra supplies for, you know, if somebody has to use one of those for whatever reason. And then we have at the top our lightweight Planetac micro fleece, as before. I have these uber long socks, which I put in here because they take up a lot of space. So that's 2 pairs of uber long socks. Our fleece neck gaiter. I'm going to dig this a little bit. 4 more pairs of socks down the sides to take up the space there, because, you know, most of the stuff I'm putting in here is kind of rolled up, so it doesn't take up the space on the sides as well, so I have something to stuff that with. We have the previous Plat Attack Harry Hard jacket, which is a soft shell jacket. We have our classic DCU USGI BDU pants that I'm using not only to take up space, but mainly as a bolster to crush the whoopee that I have in here down so that it compresses, because I don't have a compression sack for it right now. And then you have your whoopee down here taking up exactly that much space at the bottom of the pack. About the bottom of 6 inches. Out of a total $18, give or take an inch or two, for, you know, possibly, you know, overloading into the top a little bit. But overall, an 18-inch zipper here, and compressed, the whoopee is taking up about 6 inches of that. Of course, at the bottom, in the actual sleeping bag pocket at the bottom, we have a Corinthia, whatever the hell I said it was before. After the catastrophe that occurred previously, we will now return to our previously scheduled review.
It got caught. Caught in what? Friedrich's teeth.
So at the bottom here, as I was saying before, got your compressed whoopee. That's taking up about 6 inches out of the 18 that you have for the main bag compartment. And then, of course, that doesn't include, I'm counting the 18 inches being the zippers as the main compartment. That does not include the bottom compartment here. That's the sleeping bag compartment, which has the Corinthia Defense 4 stuffed in it, which I'm not going to take out right now because it's a pain in the ass to get in there. And then, of course, as always, we have, backing everything up, our ubiquitous Source 3-liter water bladder, taking up 3 liters of space in this pack. I'm going to go ahead and take this whoopee out because, it's a pain in the ass to get in. I'm going to take it out anyway because I want to show something real quick too. I guess we might as well do the feature set now. Alright, 2 things that are worth mentioning here. Number 1 is the water bladder pocket is the usual that you find in all these coolies, which I like, unless you're planning to take this bladder in and out, and then it really sucks. But anyways, I've covered that in previous reviews. Other than that, it's a great bladder pocket, and I really like it. But the cool thing is, too, it still has that same standoff from the bottom of the pack, but it now has even more standoff because of this pocket. So one of the things I was concerned about when I got this pack was that the sleeping bag compartment, the alleged sleeping bag compartment for ants, would be impinged on by this bladder being down in the bottom of the pack where it would have been usually. Because if you count the spacing from the bottom of the pack to where the bladder compartment ends in the previous bunch of packs that I've done reviews for, there isn't enough room between the bottom of the pack and where the bladder ends to fit a sleeping bag this big, or anything really. It's, you know, a few inches. So my concern was that they were going to place this, you know, bladder compartment down in you know, about the same distance from the pack as before, and then you'd have an issue, you know, not only with the width of the bag here to fit the sleeping bag in, but how much this is, you know, pretty fat. It would impinge on the sleeping bag in the compartment. But they have ended it right about here. I don't know if you can see that, but right about where the sleeping bag begins is where it ends. So as this bladder kind of curves down at the end, you have a nice, you know, space for the bag to roll out. So that's awesome. And ironically, a really clever and nicely executed design choice, even though this entire sleeping bag compartment is not very clever or well executed. So the irony being they thought of that, but didn't think, gee, how's somebody going to get a full-size sleeping bag out of this tiny little zipper that we put in the back here? I don't get it. It's one of the many things with these packs that doesn't entirely make sense, even though I really do like the overall idea for these Coulee packs, which is why I'm doing reviews of them. Anyways, the final thing I want to talk about on the inside of the pack is you can see very easily here these nice fluorescent orange tabs. The ones at the top you're familiar with from the previous reviews. They are for the Mystery Ranch Zoid pockets, or let's be honest, anything else you can hook into here. I thought it was interesting that they continued that down the entire body of the pack on each side. I think that's actually, in my personal opinion, way the hell better of an idea than putting like the stupid slot pockets on the sides that some other companies do. I hate those. I never use them, and I don't feel like they're an efficient use of space. I feel like they're something that people put into their pack design as like a feature, but it's just kind of lazy. So even though I'm not entirely sure how much I'd like, because the Zoid pockets would be attached, rectangularly like this, so they would be folding back against the side of the pack here, which would put the zipper in a kind of odd direction.
Oh, that's okay. Mistakes happen.
I'm kind of not a big fan of like extra organization in packs because I feel like it adds a lot of weight and profile and thickness and stuff to the overall pack design, and a lot of it just isn't very useful. So I prefer packs that either have no organization inside and then like Velcro on the sides, or no organization inside and then a feature like this that allows you to attach things as you want it, where you want it. So I think that's actually a very good feature for this pack. I kind of wish they had done that with a 30 liter too, because there's plenty of room in the 30 liter for at least the top two here. The other thing I want to mention too, and as I already mentioned this with if you watch the part about the pictures with the gear, I already knew this going into it because I owned one of the original 40 Coulee 40 packs a couple years back, so I knew this was going to be a thing already. But these little it has these extra little fiberglass, I guess, or plastic, whatever they are. Maybe metal. I don't know. They don't feel like metal. Anyways, it has these extra stays here, and you can take them out, or at least you used to be able to. But you can take them out, and I tried that before, because what happens is if you, this will wear great, like if you're wearing it normally, as I showed previously with a chest rig, it's going to be totally fine. But if you try to wear this with a plate, it does not like it at all, because these straight stays in here counteract the inherent compatibility with a plate of this harness that I've talked about before. So even though this can fit, it will still fit well over your plate, but these stays will ensure that this stays rigid and straight across your back. So, really? As you can tell from this chaotic video, I'm a highly skilled YouTuber, and you should definitely subscribe to this channel because I'm amazing.
Thank you. You love me. You really love me.
Anyways, these stays ensure that this pack stays very rigid and straight. And what unfortunately that does, if you try to use this pack in conjunction with a plate carrier, it will it will stay rigid right across the worst possible part of the plate for it to stay rigid, which is right about the middle to low back of it, which is going to drive the rear edge of that plate right into your spine and is amazingly painful, and you will not want to wear this pack for more than maybe 5 minutes before crumpling to the ground in pain and throwing it off you and begging never to ever wear it again with a plate carrier, because it's terrible. So this is a really good pack for like wearing with a chest rig, awful for wearing with a plate carrier. And so I just wanted to point out that this right here, so you can see these stays. The problem is you can take the stays out, but this pack does not support itself well and basically the top half of it will just kind of like collapse on itself. Even if you even if you stuff it full, like I did this before, even if you stuff it full, it just the way this pack design is with this kind of long and tall thing, it is not an inherently stiff design, and the way that this the way this works in conjunction with this harness up here, the way this kind of separates from itself like this, the taller the pack gets, the more pack space you have coming up to this unconnected part of the harness. On like the 20 and 30, 25 liters, all those, it's not that much. But for some reason on this 40, it really doesn't like being unsupported there. And if you take those stays out, it will just collapse on itself. Even if you use, even if you fill the bag up completely like I had it before, it just sags. I don't know entirely why, but it does not like not having those stays in there. So, obviously they're in there for a reason, and you really shouldn't try to use the bag without it. It's pretty bad. So unfortunately, this pack is relegated to being used with items of gear that do not interfere with your normal spine. Alright, before moving on to the other loadouts, I'm going to make a quick point real quick. Genius. What a line. Just to prove that it can't actually be done. Now that the pack is completely empty, I'm going to try to get this out through here. Oh, there we go. Yeah, there's no way in hell you're doing that with the pack full. Now that we've debunked the myth of this alleged sleeping bag compartment, what I was talking about before, at the bottom there is this little flap thing on the inside here. We're not going to have a... It's kind of hard to see. There's a little flap on the inside here that comes down from the bottom of the water bladder compartment, plugs into the interior of the pack on the inside here. So technically what it does is it makes a little like hammock that goes in the inside of the pack here, along about like on top of the sleeping bag compartment. I guess it's supposed to like separate the main compartment from the sleeping bag compartment, but it is very small. It's only the width of this bladder sleeve, and it doesn't really even go all the way to the end of the bag. It doesn't go to the sides. I'm not really sure what it's supposed to do, because it's also, once the sleeping bag is in there, again, unless you have a sleeping bag that's very small and narrow and fits, right inside this compartment, as you can see here. So, in like this much of an area, unless it fits in that tiny area, it's going to be pushing up so much on this flap that it pushes it back up into the main compartment. And if your sleeping bag is big enough, and by that I mean big enough, for example, the one I just had in there, or similar size bags, you actually can't leave this little flap buckled, because it pushes it up far enough where it's pushing it back against the water bladder compartment, and it's too short, so now it's pulling the actual interior of the pack where it's where it's clipped in is pulling that back up with it. So it's actually shrinking. It's actually shrinking the pack in on itself, trying to fit the sleeping bag in here. I'm not entirely sure what this was meant to accomplish, because if you are going to use a normal size sleeping bag, you're basically just going to fold it down like this anyway, which is how I had it in there before. It fits perfectly in there just like that. The sleeping bag, if you have a normal bag, is too big, and it's such a small, I mean, that's it. It's like a little, you know, like diaper flap in here. It's so small, it doesn't even go end to end in the pack. I've seen other packs that have like, you know, a large flap in the bottom. Some of them zip, some of them have like a drawstring at the bottom. I mean, I've seen packs before that have, you know, this kind of divider, and this is, again, just kind of a really strange attempt at one, and it doesn't work. And then, of course, you have this other little, flapping strap here at the bottom of the sleeping bag compartment that, again, I guess is, I'm not sure what it's for, because a normal size sleeping bag completely fills out this entire compartment at the bottom. It looks like this is something that's meant to be for, like, if you have a really small bag that fits in here, and you need to kind of like cinch this, you know, cinch the bottom up. I don't know why you'd need to do that, because the sleeping bag is always going to fit, you know, as far down in this compartment as you can push it anyway. So I'm sure I'm missing some great truth of the universe with this thing, but it's just not very useful. Again, they've put a lot of effort into a compartment on this pack that kind of doesn't do what the features that it has say it's supposed to do. So that's overall a little disappointing. Like, it would have been nice, you know, for a pack this size, if they had, you know, accomplished putting a pack compartment at the bottom here so you could get your pack in and out of it without having to take all the rest of your stuff out of the bag. That's a great idea. You know, there's other pack companies that have done this successfully, but for some reason they went with like a weird version of it that kind of doesn't. But I would have liked to see them do, which I think would have been a little bit more successful of a design. They should just not bothered with this zipper pocket here. What I would have done, again, since I'm obviously such an expert in pack design, everyone should obviously listen to me. But what I would have done is I would have taken these side pockets, and instead of running them all the way down to the bottom of the pack, I would have bumped them up to be, you know, even with the bottom of these rear pockets, kind of like they are on the 20 and 30. Bump these up, and once you've bumped them up, now you've got, you know, this whole space here on the side is open. And then what I would have done is done the zippers around the outside of the bag so that you could open it up and get your pack in from the side and just stuff it in sideways. And then if possible, I would have had these straps, you know, of course, you would want them to go, you know, from the back of, well, actually from the inside of the pack, whatever it would be. And then, you know, run them all the way around so that you have the actual bottom of the pack to use to attach stuff, like a sleeping pad. That would have been, you know, if they just wanted so desperately to add a zipper to the sleeping bag compartment, that would have been a hell of a lot more successful design. Hell, I would have taken it and done, you know, a zipper on this side and a zipper on this side so that you could get into it from both ends in case you either can't access the pack one way or another depending on where you're storing it, or let's say you didn't want to put a sleeping bag down here. Let's say you wanted to put like a, you know, a lightweight blanket on one end and like a, you know, cold weather layer or rain layer on the other end. You don't have to try and dig into there to get it out. You can open either side, you know, from a zipper on the outside of the pack, open either side and get into it. Because unfortunately, like the way it works, it encloses the sleeping bag in the bag. So you've got the edge of the pack coming over the top of the sleeping bag when it's in here. You can't get it out. At least not when the pack is full. I don't know what they were thinking. Maybe nobody tested it before they implemented it. I don't know. Either nobody tested this out, or, like I said before, they designed it to be used with a very small bag, in which case it almost feels like they're sort of pre-categorizing this pack into like a hyper-light, warm weather only bag, which, okay, I'm not sure why anyone would try to, like, you know, shoehorn, or I guess it's just a typecast a pack like that. considering you have no idea what the end user is going to use it for, but I don't get it. But anyways, enough of me complaining about that. If you're familiar with Mystery Ranch packs and the other reviews I've done in this series, this harness system is the exact same thing as everybody else. I got a medium size harness because apparently there needs to be like all the sizes now for this pack, even though the other packs they make don't have a bunch of different sizes. But anyways, I got the size medium, and it seems to be about exactly the same size as the previous small medium, category for the 20 and 30. I would say if you're in the 5'10", 150 something or so size range of a person, definitely don't get the small. That would be for like, some kind of like short king hobbit dude if you got a small size. So that's all exactly the same. The only difference of note is at the top you have these new, more involved load lifter straps, and they are on these awesome little buckles, so you can just pop them out and then run them down to a lower area if you are going to either have to adjust the harness down to fit you, or I'm guessing, since this is probably a kind of a one-size-fits-all bag with a harness that changes sizes, it's probably also designed for people who are wearing a small size harness, so you can move the load lifter straps down to an area where it's then more at a comfortable angle instead of having them all the way at the top. But like I said, if you're a normal sized person, where they're at is exactly where they need to be, and you don't need to change anything. As far as how they function, they work as advertised. The only other thing of note, as far as features go, is the difference in the waist belt. So this one doesn't have a pass-through behind the lumbar bolster. This one has these little, let's see if I can pull this out real quick. These little wings on the side that this is like a two-piece belt that passes through it and then folds back in on itself. It's got a nice thick and pre-shaped bit of padding here, coupled with a semi-stiff panel that the waist belt itself is attached to. So once you put it inside of this, it then provides the much needed stiffness that is now lacking on the current gen 20 and 30 packs. This is the exact same, if I recall correctly, design that the original 40 had back in the day. So nothing's really changed here, which is nice to see. This goes right back to what I was saying, the Coulee 20 review versus the Coulee 25 that I had talked about initially. The Coulee 25, the original version, had a stiffener, a stiffened piece in the belt, and that really helped a lot to help it bear, a lot of weight for the size pack it was. And then they took it out on the 20 and 30, which is kind of disappointing and lame. And, it's still comfortable to wear, but it's not like helping it to bear the weight, especially on like the 30-liter pack where you kind of need it at that point. I'm very happy to see that they didn't change the design of this waist belt. That is absolutely excellent.
Excellent!
And I kind of wish they would just use this waist belt for all the packs, because it's really great. Like, you either my theory with the waist belts on these packs is like, maybe it's just me, but I kind of feel like, either you don't need a waist belt or you need one, and when you need one, you really need one. It really wouldn't be that hard to modify either the design of at least a 30-liter pack. As I said in the previous reviews, the 20-liter pack, the current gen one anyway, doesn't really need the waist belt anyway, but the 31 definitely is useful to have it, and it wouldn't be that hard to modify it either to, accept this exact type of waist belt with little winglet panels here for it to pass through, or to modify this waist belt into a one-piece with a, so it could slide through the lumbar bolster. As far as waist belt selection on the Coulee line of packs, this one is definitely where it's at. Before we get to the end here, I want to take a few minutes to talk about how actually using these pockets on the side for different types of hydration is going to affect the interior use of the pack. Since this is something that's been an item I've been griping about for the entirety of these reviews, I think this is the perfect pack to show this with, because you're actually going to get a noticeable difference in volume with this pack, since it's much bigger than the others. So, to start with, we're going to have our bladder in there, and you can see already, this is a great example, now that the pack is empty, to see how much space this bladder is taken up in the pack. If you guys can get a look at that. It's quite a lot. This is something I've mentioned before in previous reviews where when I've said like I've kind of been getting away from bladders in favor of going to bottles on the exterior because I need that space on the inside of the pack to put stuff in the pack that actually needs to be in the pack. Also, as you guys are aware, like this is a great. I said before that I do like this bladder sleeve in here, and I do. But it is great for packs where you are not going to have to pull this out to refill it. So for like the 20-liter packs, the 25, the 30s, great, because you're only gonna be out for what, a day, maybe overnight with those size packs. Whereas this is a size pack you're getting into where you're almost definitely gonna be packing out something where you're gonna be out there overnight for more than one day. And 3 liters of water is a questionable amount of water for that kind of time. But you're also looking at a situation where you're going to have to carry more stuff. So now that you're going to have your pack stuffed full of everything, trying to get this out of here, especially in a tight sleeve like this, is going to be a real pain in the ass. That being said, for now, for the moment, I'm going to leave it in there for an example, just so you can see something. So we prefer to use the outer pockets, but as talked about before, when you fill this bag full, these outer pockets simply aren't big enough to fit anything except for a 1 liter smart bottle, and it can just barely fit those at that, and it's they're stretched in there. You'll notice now that the pack is empty, you can fit. I have these 1.5 liter lightweight Nalgene's. They fit in there easily. And with room to spare. Like, it's not even tight. It's an exact, almost perfect fit. It's almost like they were made for it. Except for the fact that it's got such a steep cut. But anyways, that's another story. We won't complain about that anymore. It fits in there perfectly. So, you put one of these in here. I'm just going to buckle this to keep it from falling out of... there we go. It's just enough to keep it from falling out of there while I turn this over. Right, we're going to go to the other side, stick the number 2 in there, so as you can see the pack is still extending to full extension. There's no, I'm not like tightening it up on purpose to make something that there isn't. It's as, is loose and empty, and it's not being tightened up at all. Alright, so, like I've talked about before, this is going to be probably, I may actually need to tighten this up a little more, just to keep them in there, but I don't know if you guys are able to see this from that angle, but what you can see is how much that when these are in here, how much these push into the sides of the pack in order to actually be, to actually fit them in there. It's hard to say, but like, you can see it's kind of, there you can see that. Alright, and this one over here, again, it's a bit difficult to see because this pack is empty, but I'll change that in a second. But I just kind of wanted you to show, right now that it does take up, I would say in order for these size bottles to fit in these outer pockets, about 1/3 of the width of that bottle needs to be pushing into the inside of the pack. So, what this means is that large items like a sleeping bag aren't going to fit in the bottom of this anymore. Because there simply isn't enough space. Even if I pull this out, I'll make the point by pulling this out now that you've seen it in there. But these are still going to stay in. If you're trying to stick this in the bottom, you physically can't get it in. That's about as far as it'll go without me hurting. I don't want to strain this pack too much because I don't want to bust it. You can't get it through that. That is as far as it will go. Is about kind of at an angle of being about 2/3 of the way in there. And these are now, notice how it was in there all the way, and now that I've pushed that in there, it's taken up so much of the space at the bottom that it's now pushed it back up, the bottle anyway, it's pushed it back up to here instead of being, I can't get it in the bottom of the pouch now. It just doesn't want to go in there all the way without being pushed up because there's so much pressure from this pack being, now filled up completely the way it's, going to be down there if you actually have a sleeping bag in there. These pockets are so flat on the sides that so much of it is being, is relying, so much of the volume of these pockets is relying on being able to push into the interior of the pack that you simply don't get the volume once you put anything in the bottom of this pack that fills it up. It just can't. I mean, you just can't get them in there all the way now. They just won't go without being. It's hard for you. It's hard to explain, but it is. If I, it is stretching it. Like these seams are totally stretched out. If you try to push it in there all the way, it is a lot of strain on this area. So not something that you can really do and expect to maintain the longevity of your pack, because it is putting a lot of pressure on these seams. This is another reason why I was saying before that I would take in these pockets, bump them up, and then, run this bottom for the sleeping compartment a little bit differently, because then you completely avoid this. You don't have to worry about that area down there, if it's a little bit overfilled because of the size sleeping bag you're going to have in there. You aren't going to be then impinging on your space to put your hydration, which, again, with the way these pockets are sized, would still be an issue if you move them up, but it'd be less dependent on not having the bottom of the compartment stuffed full. Moving these pockets up would help to alleviate the bottom of this pack being perhaps a little bit overfilled from items like sleeping bags, blankets, cold weather equipment, etc., that you would stuff into a sleeping bag compartment like that. But, I mean, even then, it would still be, unless they fixed the way these pockets are sized, it would still be impinging on the upper interior area of the pack. But you could potentially work around that a little bit easier because your, smaller, more compact stuff is going to go up here in the body of the pack, whereas your large, heavy stuff is always going to go in the bottom. But you would still have issues unless they change the, sizing of these pockets completely. So you could take your sleeping bag, turn it right side up, and there's still about 2 liters, 2.5 liters worth of space on the side. There's a little bit of space in between them, but you get the general idea. Of course, now you're taking up the whole point of, turning your sleep system sideways is to save space in the, main body of your pack. And we're now back to pretty much exactly what I was showing with the Coulee 30. You got like half your pack full of just a sleeping bag and whatever else you can fit on the sides. So that is right there what I've been talking about all along, in how what you put in these side pockets completely affects what you can put on the interior of the pack or what you put on the interior of the pack affects what you can put in the side pockets. I find it kind of strange that as long as these pack designs have been on the market, that it hasn't been noticed how much the exterior pockets that kind of make the Coulee packs what they are, how much the issues relating to those pockets have kind of just over, whoever, not the shit on the design team, but it's kind of whiffed over their heads. I kind of don't understand how that was missed in the other, attempts at least at upgrades to this new revamping of the Coulee line. So in short,
Just a few more hits to be seen.
my overall feelings on this pack are like, I do find it to be a very comfortable pack. When you're wearing it as intended without anything else impeding its ability to sit flat across your back, it is very comfortable. From that standpoint, I'm happy with it. The waist belt is also probably the best of the Coulee packs so far. I'm happy with that. The straps and frame are okay. Everything's, more or less okay. I just wish, as I've talked about ad nauseum for the last hour, I wish that they would have optimized some of these features a little bit more in order for the pack to work as apparently intended. I guess for some people that have seen this, some of these issues won't be a big deal, but they're definitely a big enough deal to me where I kind of feel like this pack, and almost at this point, since since we're at the end of the Coulee line here, well, except for the 50, but I won't be reviewing that one because I don't really have any interest in it. I feel like some of these features that are not quite turning out as perhaps intended, or as I'd hoped they were going to turn out anyway, at least on my end, I feel like this is almost worthy of like a 3.0 redesign of these packs. I also would love to take like this pack and like the 30 liter and do some other stuff with them, perhaps. Make like, maybe make like, well, I'll call it like a combat Coulee. Especially this pack here. I feel like this pack has got a lot of potential for something that's kind of like a mid-sized overnight pack, or maybe even couple day pack, that is just being hamstrung by the fact that of, all the previous design choices that I've talked about in the rest of this review. And if those things were fixed, otherwise, this would probably be a really great pack. I think it is a great pack in its current form, but it's just not like an amazing pack. You know what I'm saying? They've taken something that's, and this is something you'll see when I get to another a review of another Mystery Ranch pack in the future a little bit. Hashtag spoiler alert. But that bag is at least rated to be smaller than this one is, and yet it can fit more stuff in and or on it. I guess you could say one of the things that's contributing to my overall underwhelmingness with the current Coulee line of packs is you're telling me this is a 40 liter pack, but it doesn't fit 40 liters worth of stuff. Where I have other packs where, due to even just simple differences in the main bag design, it can inherently fit more stuff in it in a pack that's slightly smaller. I like the idea of these packs. I like the look of them. I like this very kind of streamlined design. I love the fact that these are something that can very easily be flexed between civilian use and a more military type stuff, especially if you're in a, perhaps not in the military, but as a civilian or Minuteman type thing. They've got a lot of potential. They're just kind of, I feel like a lot of that potential is being wasted on like features and design, when maybe making things a little bit simpler would enhance the ability to actually use the pack to its fullest potential. But anyways, I think I've blathered about this enough. Thank you guys for watching this long-ass series of videos, and I hope you got something out of them, and I hope this helps you either, make a choice for your future pack purchases. Thanks for watching, and I hope you got something out of these videos.